Am I the for telling my sister I don't want my kids to be anything like her? My sister, 27F, like many siblings occasionally digs for a hurtful thing to say to me, 25F, when she is pissed, embarrassed or just feeling spiteful. Her recent dig has been to make sarcastic comments implying I would be a shitty mom and that my future, hypothetical kids, would suffer having me as a mom. Most of the time I just ignore it. This is often in response to me not catering sufficiently to her anxiety. Everybody in my family suffers from some kind of anxiety or depression. As a result, I feel that my parents especially tend to coddle. My mom will still book appointments for my sister because she doesn't like making phone calls. My dad will talk to waitstaff on her behalf, etc. I used to have a very similar level of anxiety to my sister, but since moving out / getting into adult relationships / having a job, this has greatly improved. My sister has never held a job for more than a few months, and it has been years since her last job, because of her anxiety. She lives at home with our parents. Today we were traveling together as a family, and the two of us went out to get some snacks at a supermarket. She abruptly got extremely edgy and wanted to leave immediately. Because of her anxiety, she won't go anywhere alone, so this meant I had to leave immediately. I refused, because from what I could tell the thing that was making her anxious was simply two men who spoke a foreign language existing sort of near her. They were not interacting with her in any way, not looking at her, not in her space, nothing, just chatting to each other and buying some groceries. I checked out my stuff at a normal pace, and she made a snarky comment about how she hopes I don't have children because I clearly wouldn't give a shit about their safety. I said, verbatim, I know you say stuff like that because you think it hurts me, but why on earth would you think that I want to enable my kids like the way our parents have enabled you? I don't want them to turn out anything like you. She got incredibly upset and burst into tears, and I got scolded by our parents and other siblings for being cruel when she was already scared and upset. I did not apologize, and she has not apologized to me. Am I the I feel like I was just being honest in response to something clearly meant to hurt and upset me. Am I the for telling my sister to grow up when she confronted me / complained to me? My sister has two sons, by two different guys. The older boy, Jamie, is 17 and the younger boy, Jordan, is 15. Jamie no longer spends time in my sister's house. He's lived with his dad for almost 2 years now. While Jordan lives with my sister and has nothing to do with his dad, per his dad's own choice. My sister and Jamie's dad were not on good terms. My sister cheated on Jamie's dad with Jordan's dad. She also admitted to cheating on Jamie's dad before Jamie was born, and Jamie's dad had to do a DNA test to be sure Jamie was his bio son. It was a mess. She really jerked him around. When Jordan's dad left her, my sister liked to the woman Jamie's dad was dating at the time and claimed Jordan was his. This broke them up, and even though he isn't the father, my sister expected him to do the right thing for both of her children. Her expectation for Jamie's dad to step up for Jordan never ended. Jordan was naturally upset, jealous, and had a lot of feelings from a young age about Jamie having what he didn't, and because Jamie had a lot more and did a lot more because his dad could afford that. Jamie's life was very different to Jordan's. And Jamie never wanted to invite Jordan to his dad's house or to places his dad would take him. Eventually, Jordan started saying negative things about Jamie's dad, and Jamie would defend his dad. Their relationship had never been close before this, but once those fights became very common, it was very nasty between them. My sister blames Jamie's dad for this even though she never explained things to Jordan correctly. I tried a couple of times, but my sister had made him feel like he had a right to expect more from Jamie's dad. Jordan was naturally upset, jealous, and had a lot of feelings from a young age about Jamie having what he didn't, and because Jamie had a lot more and did a lot more because his dad could afford that. Jamie's life was very different to Jordan's. And Jamie never wanted to invite Jordan to his dad's house or to places his dad would take him. Eventually, Jordan started saying negative things about Jamie's dad, and Jamie would defend his dad. Their relationship had never been close before this, but once those fights became very common, it was very nasty between them. My sister blames Jamie's dad for this even though she never explained things to Jordan correctly. I tried a couple of times, but my sister had made him feel like he had a right to expect more from Jamie's dad. Am I the AH for telling the truth about Uncle Dave? Something is mentally wrong with my Uncle Dave, 50s, he's faked cancer, faked being in the military, and faked having well-paying jobs to impress women. He's been married 3 times. I went to my grandma's birthday and Dave shows up with a new girlfriend and his head shaved. She goes on about his cancer treatments. I look at my cousin who works at the closest chemotherapy facility and is like, nope. I later pulled this woman aside and tell her Dave's history of faking cancer, and she started to put 2 and 2 together because Dave just lost his well-paying job because of his sick days for cancer being back. Dave has already moved in with this woman and she was helping him out. This woman had no fucking chill and screamed at Dave at my grandma's birthday and told him to get his shit out of the home before she calls the police about him. My mom and grandma are angry at me and told me to leave because what I did to Dave and grandma at her party was evil, because this could be grandma's last birthday party because she's old. I don't see how I'm in the wrong when it was Dave lying to a woman to live in her home, but I'm the bad guy here. So everything is now my fault and I have been told not to come around to a family gathering at my grandma's again. Am I the AH for giving gluten to my gluten-free mother without telling her? So my mother and I don't have a great relationship. I recently moved to a new place in a really nice area, because I just got a really nice new job. Suddenly my mom really wants to come and visit and see me. I do my best to make up excuses, but she pushes so hard that eventually I cave. I've been cooking a lot since I got here, because I have a nice big kitchen all to myself. Recently I started making lechiao. I love it. Well, my mom and dad got here yesterday afternoon/evening and settle in and we start talking about dinner. As usual, mom has to pick after looking at online menus for a couple hours to make sure they fit with her dietary requirements. She ends up picking a vegan restaurant that's across town, but she's just so tired from the drive up she can't fathom getting back in the car. So dad and I agree to go pick it up while she rests. Driving across my new city is a long process, which I told her ahead of time, and it's a little over an hour later when we get home with the vegan/gluten-free food she wanted. She's not vegan, but she is adamantly gluten-free and has been for a few years now. We get inside and as I am opening the food in the kitchen, I notice the Pyrex Snapware container of lechiao that was in my fridge is now empty in my sink. She even dumped out the sauce that I'd been soaking them in. I asked her if she'd eaten something out of my fridge while we were gone, and she said that yes, she had eaten some chicken because she was getting lightheaded from hunger, but it was terrible and she was so ready for some real food. Now this is where I might have been the asshole. Instead of telling her what she had actually eaten, I just rolled my eyes and dished up the food for everyone and we ate. She continued to remark about how bad and oily the chicken was all night. I finally snapped when she brought it up again first thing this morning when I was picking them up from their hotel. My mom made a joke about not wanting me to cook them breakfast because she didn't want more oily chicken or something to that effect. I finally said, "Mom, that was homemade lechiao, and I don't understand why you ate all of it if you hated it so much." She asked me what lechiao is, and I explained that it's essentially 100% gluten. I watched as her face dropped, and sure enough, within 30 minutes her stomach was killing her, and she was having difficulty breathing and needed to go to the emergency room. The whole time we were there she went on and on to the nurses and doctors about how I'd fed her gluten and not told her until it was too late for her to take her medicine and crying, because now the whole trip was ruined. Mind you, this is the hospital where I work. My dad essentially told me to go home and think about my actions and give my mother some space. And now I'm just sitting here alone in my cool new place feeling like a dick and super anxious about what work is going to be like next week. So, am I the AH?